Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cafecito Break. Stand by for our premiere of a conversation that was hosted just a few hours ago. New York Stands Together, which is our weekly X Space hosted on Cafecito Break, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, featuring New York freedom fighters. And today's conversation, New NYPD, Adams, Hochul, the debate, corruption, CCP, trash cans, so much more. New York Stands Together featuring former NYPD, John McCary and Eric Dim, and Cozy, who is one of the co-hosts, Mark Front Y, DJ Brenda Black. Stay tuned and tune in. Get your cafecito. Well, it might be too late for that. Maybe it's tea time. Mic check, mic check. Can you confirm if you can hear me, Rosangel Perez? Welcome to New York Stands Together.
Yes, we hear you.
Awesome, awesome. Welcome, Brenda. I'll send you a speaker invite. We're waiting for Mark to join us and a few others who may pop in. But thank you so much. Before we officially start the space, welcome. Happy September. Welcome to the madness of election season. Hope that every one of you who have been a part of this, that you find yourselves well. I want to share a little Cafecito Break update. Our deepest apologies for missing so many weeks, one after the other. Some of it competed directly with election stuff. We weren't going to compete with Trump and Elon. And then the DNC. And also, we had family emergencies as our mother has been in a fighting for her health in the hospital for a few weeks. And, that's our queen. So that's when the break part of Cafecito kicks in. And this is kind of why our show is called Cafecito Break. It's the foundation is family, is knowing that we're here together, really wanting to work and show up and be consistent. Those are the qualities that help to build stuff. But sometimes we find ourselves in extremes where all we do is work, 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 because we have to, especially to survive in days like when there's so much high inflation and eggs cost like $12 just for a dozen, and you find milk just for a half gallon is $7. I mean, when you have a big family, staples like that go quickly. And we can't forget that so many of our family members, and I'm not just talking about blood family, I'm talking about people here, people who are connected to us. A lot of people are going through their personal journeys, their own health challenges or family challenges. And I wanted to also be real with that experience. So as we open up the show, I had a few quotes that I wanted to jump in. I love Rumi quotes. And one of my favorite ones is, out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I will meet you there. And I feel like that's the seed of every time we open up a space of Cafecito Break. It's usually live because we're inviting the essence of God to be with us, to be present with us, so that we speak from this place of being a human being. And sometimes sometimes it's going to get emotional, and sometimes it's going to be politically incorrect, and sometimes it's going to sound downright maybe really not okay to some people. But where can we go to maybe sometimes be a tiny bit unkept, sloppy, having our little nuances, where you can maybe be there in a space and someone can gently maybe offer their insight or course correct you. Everyone receives wisdom in different ways. So even though for us personally, it's been a month of hell, God has been with us every step of the way, down to the very fact that the lady who has been checking our IDs has a last name of Victory. Like God is reminding us that there's always a victory at hand. And the last that I'll open up with is beauty surrounds us, but usually we need to be walking in a garden to know it. So, with that, I'd like to open it up to Cozy, welcome him to the space, and anything that you'd like to share.
Hello, everybody. I'm back. Yeah, it's been a pretty rough month. I've been going through a lot of my own issues, family stuff, health wise for myself. But things are starting to look. I'm seeing a lot of open doors and opportunities happening, so I'm feeling positive at the moment. But there's a few things there's a lot of stuff going on, right? There's a debate tomorrow. There's I just want to announce September 11th. There's going to be a court case for tenured teachers in Albany, and please go and support them if you can. It's September 11th, and there's a free bus. So if you reach out to Michael Kane, just go to teachersforchoice@substack.com, send them an email with the subject line "Bus to Albany," and I think there's a few seats left. I don't know how many left, but please take advantage of that. Go support our brothers and sisters who are fighting for their jobs, their livelihoods. It's a court of appeals case. Okay, that's one. And there's a lot of stuff I can get into. I don't know if you want to, if I should dig deep now, or we discuss them going further. Rose Angel, what do you want me to do? Like just kind
No,
of
well,
get in.
I think I think there might be a few more announcements to share. I know that there's a
Okay,
couple of debate watch parties tomorrow, including one that Trisha Lindsay, who is running for Senate, is having in Bronxville, New York. So I just wanted to put that out there. And as we continue this conversation tonight, feel free to drop any of those announcements in within the thread of this space, and I'll be doing the same. But yeah, I think that let's just start diving into the chat.
okay. So yeah, I wanted to discuss about the CCP, right? We just found out last week that Kathy Hochul's chief of staff is an alleged CCP agent. And now I've been, reading up on that and seeing what exactly they're alleging her of, and it's very concerning. Remember those police stations that were appearing in New York? These illegal police stations that were allowed to go. She might have something to do with that, so they're going to investigate that. They're investigating her for economic stuff, for censoring, possibly censoring uh, politicians' speeches before they were speaking to the public, to make sure that it's CCP talking points and CCP friendly. We're talking about incredible stuff here, and have possible ramifications to a lot of things. I mean, imagine censorship. I could imagine maybe the mandates. Maybe she was involved in that. She was alleged to, or she's suspected of. I want to use my words carefully, right? She's suspected of possibly uh, blocking Taiwan and Taiwan like people from speaking with New York State or having a relationship with them, like preferring to only speak with Chinese. Um, Again, censorship, fraudulent use of state resources, relationships. Oh, here, I wrote some bullet points so I don't forget. Uh, okay, here we have. Give me 1 second. Yeah, so they want a bipartisan investigation into this, um, and yeah, they want to literally go after her and basically see what she's done. By September 18th, Governor Hochul needs to respond as to whether she knew about this stuff, and you know any information she can give to find out. I mean, this is really concerning.
Oh, so I have a question, Cozy. Do you think that she quote unquote had no idea and that she just found out. I mean, to be fair, this she was arrested some time ago, and I heard her make a statement saying that, oh, as soon as we found out, like, I'm using my words, but that they dealt with the situation. In my mind, I'm like, the first thing I thought about was the mandates. The first thing I thought about
Hmm.
was, they are reporting that this woman had control of messaging.
Correct. And I personally, this is my opinion. I'm not accusing. This is my opinion. I believe that they knew because she's been a chief of staff since Cuomo was in office. I have a feeling she had a lot to do with the mandates, the masking, masking of children, the ridiculous things they made us do. New York was exceptional, and the fact that she basically, if you think about it, the bar association, maybe she influenced them because they said, "Oh, religious exemptions are no longer a thing. Basically, we're not gonna like. Are you kidding me? Religious exemptions, the constitutional right? You're gonna tell us that adults don't have that, children don't have that? I have a feeling she's been involved in all of that. Removal of religious exemptions for children, for adults. Uh, this is CCP stuff. It smells like CCP. When they put a mask over you, I mean, that came from China, literally. These masks, that all that masking. Remember, we used to see these in the early 2000s. I remember, walking around, the city, seeing from time to time, you would see Asian people walking in the street with masks, and I would be like, oh, are they afraid of like? I was wondering, why do they have masks on? Right? Are they afraid of particles? Or are they afraid of diseases? Like, why are they doing it? Are they sick themselves? And then, when the pandemic hit, we realized what this was all about. Just a lot of questions. The fact that they're saying that she censored politicians' speeches. This is really, I think they knew. I think they were involved. I think that, like, my gut tells me that, they're working together. The Democrat Party is a communist party, period. A communist party. And I believe they have a heavy influence.
Well, this
On,
is crazy, right? Because I pulled up the Daily Mail article, and it says that that Linda's son, who is 41, was taken into custody on Tuesday after their 4.1 million mansion was searched in July, and that she is accused of enriching herself and her family by acting as an undisclosed agent of the Chinese Communist
Hey,
Party.
Rosango?
Yeah. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I didn't want to take away from the meeting, but I'm actually on a Zoom call with all the Maha campaign team for Kennedy, and Kennedy's speaking right now. So I didn't want to put that in the chat. But they're going to be a series of meetings with Maha. There's over 1,000 people in the chat the Zoom right now. Throughout the following weeks. So I'll try to put that information for you guys in the future. Now I don't want you guys to jump into Zoom now, but he's talking, so I just put it out there.
Well, keep us updated as the you get more details. We love that. But yeah, going back to this, Sun is charged with blocking representatives of the Taiwanese government from having access to high-level New York State officers and changing messaging on issues that involved the CCP, which is exactly what Cozy was saying. Um, Prosecutors can't claim that she used the proceeds to buy some, homes, in which included a condo in Hawaii and some luxury vehicles. It says a 63-page indictment alleges that she repeatedly violated internal rules and protocols of the New York governor's office to provide improper benefits to China and the Communist Party. And I really think and I really pray that as we keep learning about this story, that people really make it a big deal, because it's like you said, there have been CCP. And why have there been illegal CCP police stations here in New York? Why are certain politicians throwing special benefits? We've seen them. They've been in optics many times, and there's also a lot of reporting regarding this is pivoting from Hochul, but Kamala Harris's VP pick, Tim Walz, has a very cozy relationship with China. So, hmm,
and I want to add something to this, right? Very interesting because about 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, I have a good friend that lived in Ithaca, New York. And he told me when Cuomo came in, he built a special airport, okay, in Ithaca, and he said that he saw a lot of Chinese people coming from China, a lot of students, university professors. He said it was like it was unrecognizable after a year and a half of this airport being built. And he says that he was suspecting at the time, and he was telling me, he's like, listen, I think that the CCP is bringing in uh you know people to get educated. Maybe they're spies. He's like, maybe they're students, like trying to like learn things, right? And but he's saying there's an influx, and it's like undeniable. And he said, I think Cuomo made a deal with the CCP, possibly. He's like, because something's not right up here. And I remember him telling me that. And then once I saw this Chinese spy thing happening, it just hit me. Like, I remembered what he said. I'm like, holy shit. Maybe this was the plan. Maybe they cut a deal. This is really concerning. Like, everybody should be infuriated with this news.
Okay, I want to invite Brenda to share, but here's my other little unsettling grain that I really hate to contemplate. And we've raised this up before in other conversations, which is, a lot of times, right? Bear with me, because this point, think about certain celebrities. I mean, not celebrities. Think about certain politicians that seem like all of a sudden they have a sock in their mouth, when we know they have abilities to be more articulate. So we may make fun of them, saying, "Oh, they're so stupid," or "Look at the retarded. This one has a retarded mind." However we're using our words. I'm guilty of doing that too. But at the end of the day, that's kind of like stupid base level divide and tactics. You're also pivoting away from the main points. What if sometimes, as we have seen, that certain people are beholden to entities bigger than themselves? And what if this entity has a much bigger grasp on certain aspects of maybe cities? I don't know. I don't understand the legs of this. But when you see the streets get cleaned in California to welcome the president of China, when what happened to all the homeless? Where did they go? And why did the streets get cleaned when it was his visit?
I'm glad you brought that up. I totally forgot about that. And that's a great observation.
I'm going to interject here because I was there with the NFSC, New Federal State of China, along with DVS and other freedom fighters. Basically, they cleaned a very small part of San Francisco. I know the media, especially the conservative media reported like they cleaned the streets of San Francisco. They cleaned a very small section so that the cameras saw it as clean and whatever for the president of China. They also prevented anyone from going into that area, myself included. And whether you're a protester or not, it's not just to keep the counter protesters out. They wanted it where only the people that were supposed to be there, because you saw in the videos that shows all these people waving the Chinese flags and all that stuff. All of that was by design. Those people were paid to be there to hold those flags up. So to make it look like Xi is welcome, and he wasn't. So we were there protesting in the majority of San Francisco, walking the streets, letting people know that they're not welcome here and communism is not welcome here. But when we did go and take an Uber back from a restaurant to the hotel, we saw people who were, very, very, kind of Skid Row like looking streets where, the homeless people are out on the streets, but it's worse because they're on a drug called Trank, which is kind of like a combination of fentanyl and something else. And they literally look like zombies with their hands out, their heads down, like they're sleeping standing up. It was a very creepy thing to see in person. If you see a video of it, it's one thing. I mean, I DVS took a video that he never shared for some odd reason, because I wanted to post it and talk about it. But yeah, it's really bad to see the way people have to live out there. And if I mean, now if you're in the suburbs, apparently everyone, you can't take your pets outside because the illegal immigrants from Haiti are going to eat them, which is another crazy thing. So you're not even safe in the suburbs. At least the pets aren't for now. But that's yeah, it's just crazy what Democrats are doing to society, to people, to animals, to everybody. Good to be back once again. I'm Mark for NY. Thank you all, everyone who's joining this space. Who we try to air regularly on Mondays at 9 p.m. Last week was the holiday and other reasons, but glad to be back with the fellow freedom fighters today.
It's good to have you, Mark. It's good to have you back, Mark. Welcome. Speaking backwards today, Brenda, welcome. How are you, mommy? How have you been? I welcome your insights.
Hi. I want to say that I agree with what you were saying about not underestimating characters like Kamala, who seem silly and stupid. Like, nobody in those positions is stupid. They might not be as bright as some other people in those positions, or they might not appear so, but if you think about it, she did so poorly when she first tried to run for president, and then she ended up being vice president, and now she's the nominee for president without even trying. So is she really that stupid? I mean, you could say, okay, she's a puppet, but you could also say she maneuvered very well. She could be a puppet by choice. I also do think sometimes you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I've even said this sometimes when I've defended Trump. Like, we don't know if they said, look, do this or we're going to kill your whole family. And while I don't think I believe, like, if I was a politician, I would tell my family, if it was between my family and millions of people, like, hey guys, I think my family would make that sacrifice themselves. They'd be like, yeah, we'll go for millions of people. That said, he might even, you just don't know everything, and is my point. And I think that it is unwise to underestimate anyone who's in these positions in any way. So I just wanted to piggyback off that, what you said. Um, and
Well,
I'm,
Brenda, oh,
yes.
sorry. No, you just reminded me of a clip. This was a few years back. I don't know if you remember when Charlemagne was going in on Kamala, because Charlemagne has backed Kamala, right? And has been very loyal to her. But there was a time when he was asking her questions and she was not being seemingly forthcoming. And he dug into her in that interview. At one point, he said, "What's going on with you?" I'm paraphrasing, of course, and I can find the clip and share it. But he's pretty much like, "What's going on with you? What's with the person that I know? You seem to be holding back." And to me, that's like, huh. I don't know what that means though, right? There could be a lot of reasons why, you know, uh, let's put it this way. In the industry, I have definitely been on teams where we're focusing on a messaging and everyone in that team is encouraged to stay within that messaging and not outside of it.
So I'll hop in here. I've been saying for a long time the Democrats have a destruction by design policy. So to say that they're stupid is inaccurate in a lot of cases. But with Kamala, I think she really is dumb. I mean, yeah, she got to the presidency and everything. She got into politics the way that she did. Which I'm not going to get into detail. Everybody knows how she got her foot in the
Yeah,
door.
but even with that, if I could interject, even with the accusations of, like, she slept her way to the top, like, everyone who's had sex, like, does she have a magic pussy? You still have to. Here's the thing, like, like say you can nepotism can work, like you could get a job because of your family, or you could get sleep and somebody gives, give somebody sexual favors and they give you opportunities, but you have to have some merit to in order to do the things that she does, and I think that she might be a ridiculous person. She's the Joker. She's like a mad evil, um I don't know, she's not genius, but criminal mastermind or something. The Democrats, I want to say real quick, and I'm sorry to interrupt, Mark, and then I'll yield, is that I want to be cautious that we don't, when we criticize the Democratic leaders, which, JFK was murked because he gave a speech and said, we're not into secret societies, and secret societies have plans to enslave everybody. And then all of a sudden his head was blown off. Right. So this is not like, that's all I'll say with that. Right. And we could see what's happened in the 50 years since that happened in our society. And look into Yuri Bezmenov. I hope I'm saying his name right. He'll explain it as well. But, you know, let's not make Democrat voters our enemy. And even some Democrat politicians, you know, they might go in, and there's good and bad in both political sides. And we really, I just want to caution that, because it's so easy just to be like, Democrats suck. And they do. But I just want to say that, and I yield. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get into the Kamala sleeping her way to the top because that wasn't really my main point. So I just wanted to mention that briefly and then continue on. But basically, when you look at someone like Gavin Newsom, yeah, his policies are destroying California. But when you watch him in a debate and public speaking, he's very intelligent in the way he manipulates people. I mean, he's clearly full of crap. I know he's full of crap, but I know as a politician and a public speaker from watching the debate against Ron DeSantis, he, he did a pretty good job. And I don't agree with anything that he says, although half of it is BS. But he did a good job of appealing to the ignorant voters out there that believe his BS. Um, Kamala cannot do that. She's not intelligent enough to be able to answer questions and BS her way. So she's one of those, we'll see it on the debate tomorrow against Trump. He's going to annihilate her, and the cackling and stuff like that isn't going to cut it. She could, with interviews, she could dodge questions and answer her own questions when she's asked the question. And I guess Cafecito mentioned the interview that she, had with, would you say it was Charlemagne or something, where he kind of went back at her because she doesn't she's incapable of answering questions related to pretty much anything. I mean, her platform is half the stuff is copying off of Trump, the no tax on tips. 2 months later, just copying what Trump said he's going to do. So she's not intelligent enough to be a good politician. I mean, she was hated when she ran for president, and she's put in there for a reason. We all knew it was coming, that Biden wasn't going to be the nominee, and it's easy to just blame Biden for things and say, well, Kamala's going to fix things now that Biden screwed up, as opposed to just saying, here's all the things Biden did, even though she's in the administration. So, I mean, I just, in a lot of cases, it's destruction by design when you have people like de Blasio, and then Eric Adams, who's a puppet, Kathy Hochul, who's a puppet, Gavin Newsom, who's a puppet. They're all destruction by design. Then there's, Kamala's a puppet too. She's just doing whatever she's told. AOC, on the other hand, she's somebody who's, not necessarily intelligent either, but she's doing it because she actually believes in the communist, um, you know, uh, communist policies. So she's definitely a socialist, no question about that. She believes in that stuff. She got to where she was because she hustled politically, and she's a good public speaker as well, even though she's not intelligent. Like, her communist ideology is dumb. But so that's the difference. Some are destruction by design. Some actually believe in it. And to get to something that you said, Brenda, to not hate the liberals. I mean, they most liberals are good, kind-hearted people. They legitimately are brainwashed to believe the things that the mainstream media, Hollywood, and everybody brainwashed them with. So it's not necessarily their fault. They truly believe that anyone who's MAGA is a racist, because that's what they were told repeatedly for the past near decade. That make America great again. It's all racist, and so they spew their hate because they legitimately believe that we're evil, even though we're not. That's not really necessarily a fault of their own, but I'm of course going to clap back anytime somebody tries to insult me, because that's just my natural reaction. Does it actually help to call people stupid or ignorant or whatever? Maybe not, because people think that I'm stupid for whatever reasons. When it comes to being a Republican, they think that their degree makes them superior to me, and that they're more intelligent, when meanwhile they have no clue what they're talking about. They have a degree, and they went to college to be brainwashed to believe bullshit. um, so they're not necessarily smarter than me, but that's really what it comes down to. They're good people, we're good people. They just think we're evil. We know just think that they're ignorant. When the comedian I'm drawing of Jim Brewer, when I went to his one of his comedy shows that he did, he talked about, like, when you're making fun of people with masks, you shouldn't really make fun of them. They're a casualty of war, and it's because they're brainwashed in a state of fear. You still see people with their masks, and it's like, yeah, my mentality is like, if you make fun of somebody and they feel stupid for doing something, maybe they'll learn. Like, if you're in school and you answer a question and it's obviously wrong and stupid, and the whole class laughs at you, you kind of learn from your mistake that you were wrong. So we kind of did that for a while, and it worked with some people. Some people it didn't. But the more you put it out there to make people feel stupid for believing, like, with sarcasm or whatever the case may be, maybe that helps. Maybe it's not the best strategy, because when someone calls me stupid, obviously I'm not going to believe their ideology for calling me stupid. But I think that the memes and all the other things out there, I think are persuasive, and we have been red pilling people. More and more people are waking up and believing that Trump is not racist, and it is mainstream BS. The CNN ratings are at all-time low. People are waking up. People aren't buying into the mainstream media. They still have the views ratings are catastrophic. So less and less people are buying the BS that the mainstream media is putting out there, and that's because of people like us, the independent media. Whether you have a few hundred views or a few million views, you got people who are waking up because of us putting the information out there. I know I've been speaking for a while, so I'm just going to pass it back to whoever wants to take over.
Cozy?
Yeah. What would you guys like to discuss? I mean, we could take this conversation anywhere. There's so many topics.
Feel free to go with it. I mean, New
We can
York has
talk about,
exploded with
yeah,
so much news and vomit
yeah.
in the
There's a,
last couple
well,
of
listen.
weeks.
We can talk about the Trump Kennedy merger. We can talk about
Yeah, let's do it.
New York City trash bins
Oh
that I
my
wanted to
God.
mention. I could do that quickly. So the New York City trash bins, for those of you who don't know, they're saying by November 12th. Um, well, I read it again, and it says by November 12th that you have to get a container to put your garbage in that's compatible with, I guess, the trucks they're going to use to throw out your stuff. But they're saying they're mandating by June 2026 that you must purchase your trash bin. So all homeowners have to purchase their trash bins by a government website, right? So obviously they're getting kickbacks. I would like us to investigate who owns this company and who's friends with these people. Um, the point is, listen, I don't like government telling me what to buy and who to buy it from. That's just me. That's just my style. I don't like to be told what to do and what to purchase, right? So I'm pissed off immediately. Uh, you know, yeah, it's $50. It's not expensive, but I don't care. I don't want to buy things from the government. Okay. I want to hear your thoughts about that because there's people saying, oh, but it's cheaper, so you should get it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's like, no, 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 no. I want to
Well,
hear your
aren't they
thoughts.
smaller though? They seem smaller to me.
I don't know if they're
Am I
smaller.
wrong? Like,
I'm not sure of the
but but
size.
but I guess that's the thing is it's almost like when we're talking about communist style kind of thing, and the way I look at a lot of the things that have woken me up to the bullshit is how people spend money. And it's very easy that we have a lot of people in leadership that do not know how to budget. They do not know how to spend money and they make choices and spend it in the wrong places or virtual signal or use it to paint a building that no one's ever gonna see or doesn't ever open, like or to waste just I just don't get it.
To me, yeah,
And
it's wasteful, man. It's like to me, it's wasteful. Like why? Like it's crazy. Like how are you? How dare you tell me what to buy and who to buy it from? Like to me, that's like fuck off, fuck off. You're already pissing me off. So like this is crazy. So imagine the conversation though. When it comes to homeowners, I've made an observation. The middle class homeowners, they don't give a shit about homeowners. Okay, they have no rights basically. Uh, there's always the tenant has rights. So like a tenant can live in somebody's apartment as long as they want. They can squat. They can do whatever. They hate the middle class. They hate anybody who's productive, who can save money, who can invest money. They hate you. They hate you with the passion, and they're willing to help always. You know what I mean? People who they think is the underdog or like, oh, the tenant. And, to me, it's like an attack on people who have a little bit of money in their pocket.
I'm going to touch on that too, but Brenda has her hand up for a while.
Yes, Brenda. Please talk, Brenda. Say something.
Um, well, I was following from afar the post that the sanitation department and the government agencies were putting about those trash bins, and I was reposting them on my block association page to make the business owners aware and such. But I didn't in any of the posts see anything about it being mandated that they had to buy it, which is mandate is awkward because it's that mandate is not a law. But then it seems that there is penalties if people don't comply. I think that if the government was like, okay, you have to put these new for cleaning up, because I do think that's one of the things that they can do is keep our streets clean. However, they should not have it be you have to buy from us or else. They should be we have available if you want to purchase from us, but you can purchase your own. Just make sure it's these specs so it fits into our trash bins. I think that. Do you know if that people with businesses are allowed, or they don't totally have to get it?
Yeah, so by 11/12, it's saying you can either buy from them or you can buy your own that are similar specs that will, uh align with what they're trying to do, right? So similar specs of your any choosing. You can buy it from anywhere. But by June 2026, you must buy from the mafia.
Well, no, by June 2026, you have to have them. Otherwise, they won't collect your garbage. That's the understanding that I have of it.
Well, I thought they were going to fine you. I'm assuming. They're just
So,
not.
well, yeah, one way or the other. Like you have to have it, or they're gonna find well, however they're gonna work it. You apparently have to have it now. I mean, I think we're on the same page with this. Forcing you to have, if there's no actual forcing to buy it from the government, that's one thing. If you could buy it in the specifications at Home Depot or whatever, it's not as bad. I guess it's making it more efficient and quicker to collect the garbage, which would
And
be.
it's cheaper. Like, to be honest, it's going to be cheaper buying it from the government, right? But
Yeah, but
I don't,
the whole
yeah.
point is to make trash collection more efficient because they won't even have to get out of a garbage worker has to get out of the truck, lift it up, risk injury. Then they have to pay workman's comp, et cetera, whatever, and it takes longer and it blocks traffic on the street. So if it's more efficient, yeah, that's a good thing. My problem is with homeowners pay enough money in real estate taxes where the government should just provide it. I think they provided because they force you to compost them, or at least for a certain period of time, they force you to compost like your banana peels and stuff in a separate brown bin. I think they provided that brown bin for free. I might be wrong, but why not just provide the bins since you're paying a crap load of money on real estate taxes to begin with? Where are those real estate taxes going to? Like, I mean,
yeah, what I predict happening, right? Because I'm not a psychic, but it's just free market, right? That's how the free market works. If you eliminate competition, which is what they're doing, basically, is saying like picture this, right? In New York, you won't be able to buy a garbage can for your home anymore, right? New York City. So these businesses are going to lose money. They're going to go out of business probably, right? Now the price that they're saying is only $50. Eventually, it's going to get higher and higher and higher, right? The price is going to get higher. That's what happens when you eliminate competition.
If everyone has them by June of 2026, you're not really going to need to replace them very often, or probably at all. So
how do you know? Why?
If I
What do you
could jump
think?
in, I do think though that there are people who are in charge of a lot of our power structures who do hate the middle class, and they are it seems like they're trying to eliminate the middle class, if I have on my tinfoil hat. And not to jump too far off, but I think recently, there was the case of more than once recently in the news, you're hearing about like parents being held responsible for their children committing crimes. And there's a part of me that's like, yeah, that's parents should be responsible. But really, I think that it's just another avenue to take away parental rights in general. And I think it's the same. I think that's what you're trying to say, Cozy, with the garbage cans, is that even though it may seem like, oh yeah, we're giving you the option to also buy it yourself, really it's all part of a sinister plan to really make a monopoly. Like, I see that aspect of it. I think just we the people have to keep on top of these things and be like, no, we're not going to go for that.
Yeah, I want people to say, fuck off. We're going to buy from wherever the fuck we want. Like, I'd rather pay 3 times the price than buy from you motherfuckers. Honestly, I'm willing to pay more for my garbage can just so I don't have to buy it from Eric Adams. Okay? I don't want to do that.
I'm right with you on that one.
I don't care if it's worse quality, I'll fucking buy it. Okay? Just so I don't have to pay New York City government. You know what? We pay enough in taxes. We pay enough in people. Some of us own properties. We pay enough in property tax. Just give it to us. We paid for it already. What are you doing with our money? You're partying at Con Sofritos with our money? Are you freaking partying all night long with your criminal friends? What are you doing? You're going on trips to here and there? That's what he's doing. He's using our money to fly to Israel, to fly to Mexico. He's like, yes, I'm going there to check out the border situation. God knows what he's doing in Mexico.
Yeah, I don't like it because I think it's like the principle of it. This small thing, and then, I mean, just like how COVID happened, it's just for 2 weeks with just a little more. It's just a little mask. We know this just keeps going. And something that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says a lot is that when has the government ever given its power back that they've taken during emergencies? Nunca. Nunca. And a lot of us, you know, I I'm almost I'm so cynical that something in me is wondering if tomorrow's debate will even happen. Cuz I have noticed that there has been very spotty internet receptions in certain areas. I was having a lot of internet issues today, for example, and I heard other people were too. Not that this was like a down detector kind of issue, but things that I wouldn't be surprised about.
I was wondering about that too. Do you all think I was gonna ask, do you all think that it's gonna happen? I don't know. I feel like she might back out last minute.
Yeah, she might say she has monkey pox or something from maybe sleeping around again. But anyway, listen, back to the point. Rosangel is like, yeah, this is. I think this is how they introduce. Uh, this is communism. This is straight up communism, and this they're getting us used to it. Like, don't worry, it's only $50. We're your friend. Just buy this. You know what I mean? If we accept this, we're accepting more and more of this, and it's gonna just keep happening in all stages of our lives. And I just want to say no from now. I feel like uh, I mean, my instinct is to do something that's not nice, and I don't want to say it on here, but like doing something that's probably not not legal, basically. Like you know what I'm saying? Like I my instinct tells me to like kick all the garbage cans. You know what I mean? Like to do something stupid. I'm not going to do that. I'm not a criminal. But my reptilian brain tells me just kick them all, kick all the garbage cans. Like fuck off, get
And
out of
all of
here.
a sudden you get in trouble for kicking a garbage can and versus other people who are literally pushing people down subways, beating people up, stabbing, playing with themselves in public
Ew.
buses. I mean,
Yeah.
but it's become a phenomenon.
Yeah.
Nothing
It's like
to
mind
see here.
control.
I will tell you this because I've had my not my sister, my family, we've had the pleasantries of having to take the bus ride to the hospital
Thank
for two
God.
weeks. Well, thank God and not, right? But on the way back, or because the buses are always, the MTA is not the best system in the world, and a lot of times I ended up just walking home because the buses are so unreliable. And then I stopped walking the path of the bus because the dark streets and lots of men because there's a shelter in the area.
Mm.
And hey, to be fair, I've never felt anything off putting in the vibe, but it's still not wise for a person who's walking by themselves to be walking in dark streets when there's lots of men everywhere. Just
Yeah.
when we're with nowhere to go, with let's be real, with lots of different types of needs, which is um you know a reason why we've seen the rate of prostitution go up, all sorts of prostitution. So
Hey, hey, hey,
for
it's all sex work. Excuse me.
right, thank you for correcting me before I get in trouble by the hate police.
And I just want to clarify something before we go on. Obviously, it was a joke. I'm not kicking any garbage cans. I'm not doing anything mischievous. I'm a good little
No,
boy.
the headlines
I'm a
are going to
good
say
little
Cozy
boy.
the trash can kicker. Stop
The,
lying.
I'm a good little boy. I follow all rules. I follow the law. Okay, listen.
No, Cozy the crazy
John
trash
D.
can kicker.
Macri, how the hell are you?
Oh my God,
Step
does
right
this
up to
man
the
have?
microphone, Mr.
Thank
John
God he
D.
came on.
Macri.
I was hoping.
Makari, I think, but
I
I
like to say
was
Macri.
hoping
Macari, am I saying it wrong?
yeah, I saw him on there. I'm not the
Macari.
host. I was going to add him
You know
as
what? He should
that's
just
not a
smack us
co-host.
down with how he says his last name.
Leave Edward Cabana alone. Leave Edward Cabana alone.
Listen, I
Oh, it's
wish
about to get raw.
Sal Greco was here because I have to give it to him who kept saying con sofrito, and what's going on over there, and also John, you and Eric, you have been just so spot on, being so insightful. Uh, please remind people también where they can listen to your podcast, which is phenomenal, by the way. Congratulations.
Hey, what's up, everybody? How you guys doing? Yeah, it's crazy time, people's crazy time. So I think it's just everything's in God's timing, right? I have a lot of
Well, listen,
people.
before
I'm shot, but I just wanted to come on here. I saw you guys were on, and just and just show a little support. But it's been a crazy ride, right? Like a lot of people said we were nuts, that we weren't being honest, we weren't telling the truth, and now everyone's seeing the many numerous scandals arising out of the Adams administration and his appointees. And now no one's saying that we're nuts anymore. Well, a few people, a few people have definitely turned on us now that the media has swung into the proper direction and is showing you exactly what's happening in New York. So I mean, yeah. So, but I think I don't think I just hope that justice prevails. I hope that people aren't getting scapegoated, and I hope the people that were really behind all the mischievous deeds are the people that are in fact held responsible for it ultimately. These are very powerful people. By all means, we're talking about corruption from the highest levels of the NYPD, but I even think it's much bigger than that. I think you're going to see a lot of different agencies in New York City and New York State, as well as politicians in New York City and New York State. I honestly believe at this point, I don't have any info to suggest this, but just the other fact that you're not seeing any of the elected talk about this whatsoever, none of them. The only person who said anything either on a state or a city level was Bob Holden, where he said that a Caban should step down. And even that, I think, is a weak statement. I think there needs to be a lot more said about what the hell is transpiring and the allegations that are being made, not only against Ed Caban, but against the mayor and the majority of the NYPD's upper echelon. So, and that just leads me to believe that a lot more people got subpoenaed, and they're all looking to save their own ass right now. So, yeah, crazy time. Like I said, everything's in God's hands, so we'll see where it goes. But I'm assuming it's going to go hot and heavy because election season's here, and they're not going to put this off to. They're not going to put this stuff off prior to the election, is what I'm saying. Is like the Southern District has to play by rules and close out a lot of things when it nears election season, and that's what you've seen during the De Blasio administration, right? As it got close to where he was getting up for reelection, they closed that case out and they moved forward, right? And he was able to actually get reelected. I still till today don't know how, but he was. And so we have seen corruption scandals in the past coming out of New York City from the highest levels of the mayor and the top upper echelon of the NYPD. But this one sounds really bad. This one sounds pretty bad to me. So
But
appreciate you guys.
you don't think that they're gonna? I mean, maybe after the election they'll start bringing some of it up, or they're just gonna cover it all up.
I mean, I don't know. I think right now what you're seeing, I think a lot of this stuff's a little too big to cover up. I mean, the allegations are that, and it's out in the open in a lot of different lawsuits. The allegations that just came out right now about Philip Banks and Timothy Pearson, who are enthralled in a lot of different scandals. But the one that just dropped recently, where they're saying that they were actually selling contracts for kickbacks. I mean, if that's what was happening, we're talking about millions of dollars. We're talking about like the highest level corruption there. Then we're talking about the New York City police commissioner giving his brother a detail of cops, a taxpayer funded police detail, protection, security detail of cops, and going around to clubs under the guise of he's going to offer protection, which is racketeering. It's you're basically, I'm going to your club, I'm showing up with cops behind you, and I'm like, yeah, listen, I could take care of anything you got. You just hire my consulting company. The cops won't bother you. And what's the inference there? Is that like if you don't pay me and you don't hire me, you're gonna have a problem with the cops. But I'll keep you safe. So basically a racketeering protection racket. It involved the entire upper echelon of the NYPD, including commanding officers and down to a few other lower level people. So you're seeing all that play out. It's all alleged at this point. I mean, but this is all things that we've been telling everybody for 2 years. So, was it proven in a court of law? No, it's not proven in a court of law. But to me, if I'm a betting man, if I'm the one investigating the case, I'm saying right now, all the stuff that's coming out, there's too much smoke around Adams' administration. There's too much smoke for there not to be not only one fire but numerous fires.
Yeah.
And even today with his like little game of oh, I have COVID, he's just trying to avoid off topic Tuesday. He doesn't want to get slammed, so he's taking the Tuesday off. We'll probably see Ed Caban step down on Thursday. This is my assume. He's not going to step down on 9/11, right? So I'm assuming Thursday, Friday, he'll step down, and then Adams will be back.
Dion, I'll get to you in a second. John, so what do you think? Like, how can we go after these people? Like, how do you get these people held accountable? Like, what, do we have no power? Do we just, I mean, who's going to go? I mean, obviously we have a trifecta of, I mean, it's all Democrat, right? So they're not going to, get their own people, right? So what do we do here?
I don't know, man. I think that you're seeing it right now. I think Damian Williams, who's in charge of the Southern District of New York doing the investigation. I mean, he didn't have to open up these investigations and hit them all hot and heavy all at once. Um, so I think actually you are going to see people being held accountable. I'm just, like I said, I'm just worried that it's not going to be the right people, right? Like people down the chain, like what we saw with Chris Christie's, what we saw with his lieutenant governor, right? She's the one that winded up almost going to jail when she wasn't found guilty of anything. But she almost went to jail. And meanwhile, Chris Christie skated on that whole Bridgegate scandal. Like I said, I just hope it's the right people. But I think what you're seeing is, I think is probably the biggest corruption scandal of any mayor in New York City history, and there's numerous scandals, and I think that's what's going to come out to be. I was saying that I think this might be the biggest scandal in NYPD history, just because it involves the upper echelon of the NYPD, not something we've ever seen. But I think when you look at the totality of the circumstances, there's a lot of heavy players in here, and Letitia James has been completely silent. Kathy Hochul's been completely silent.
Yeah.
There's and yeah, I'm telling you, man, I really think this is a huge investigation, and involving the most powerful people. So I mean, what could we do? What we've been doing? We use our voices, right? We have to pay attention to what's going on and call it out, and not be afraid to call it out. Like, wait a minute, why
Yeah.
is what about that person? How come this? How come that? Just like what we've been doing, and getting it out there in the media and getting media attention. And what we see is when the corruption's so bad, they are acting. So even though I don't know how Damian leans, he might be a Democrat. I don't think he cares. To me, it looks like he's trying to do the right thing and clean up not only New York City but New York State.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I got to research more. I want to look into that. I didn't really dig deep, like obviously like you did, but yeah, I'll look into it. Dion, what's up, brother?
Okay, my question is this: the contracts, I guess you maybe alluded to it, maybe I'm talking about something different, but there's a lot of contracts with the NYPD officers themselves individually, I think, to like actually do like part-time security work in like commercial stores and restaurants. For example, somebody would be on the job and then maybe a couple of days do some extra hours working security at a restaurant, or somebody actually would be in uniform but they were making extra hours stationed in like a CVS. I know personally in the Bronx. So could you speak to that kind of thing? Is it connected to corruption too, which I think I heard?
No. So that is completely legitimate. What that is a program that the NYPD has together with like private corporations. So the private corporation will actually pay the NYPD, who pays a cop. It's non-pensionable. They'll pay you like, whatever. You could stand there for 10 hours, make like 300-400 bucks or whatever, right? I stand outside of Target or whatever company wants to hire you, right? Louis Vuitton or whatever it is. And you're in there in uniform, and all that stuff's legit. It's all on the up and up. You're paying taxes on it, all that stuff. You know what I mean? There's like, that's been going on for years and years and years. That's called paid detail. Um, what's being alleged about the security is like I said, the police commissioner's twin brother, who's not his identical twin, has been given a security detail, so a taxpayer funded security detail, to drive around and protect the police commissioner's brother. I don't know why that's needed. I don't know if there's any threats against the NYPD commissioner. I'm sure there's always some type of threat, but we gave him that, and it's being alleged that he opened up a nightlife consulting company. And so what he's been doing apparently, and what's being alleged, is that he was driving around with his NYPD security detail, going to nightlife venues, some larger ones, some smaller ones, and talking to the owners and the managers and saying, "Hey, listen, I run this nightlife consulting company. If you hire me, you won't have a problem with the police. You won't have a problem with the state liquor authority. You won't have a problem with the Department of Buildings. And you're going to staff your club or your restaurant with my security team. And then you won't have any problems.
That sounds like a sweet deal to me.
Yeah, but it also sounds like what if you really don't have any problems with the NYPD? And like do you would you feel comfortable at that point to talk to one of the brother of probably the second most or maybe even the first most powerful person in New York City? Because I could argue that the police commissioner has more power than the mayor. So maybe even, would you feel comfortable to tell him no? To me, it sounds like complete racketeering. The Post put out an article and they said that this isn't old school mafia style, like pay up or we'll break your windows. But I see it the exact opposite. I see it's exactly that. It's exactly that. I'm rolling up on you with police presence, telling you if you pay me how much, whatever it is, and you staff your business with my guys, you won't gonna have any problems with the police. But the inference there is, well, if you don't pay me, you're gonna have a problem with the police, right? And that's racketeering, that's muscle, that's using the police department as paid mafia goons. And apparently, the entire upper echelon of the NYPD was in on this. I mean, and then when we switch over to the contracts, uh, I'm talking about the migrant contracts. Timothy Pearson's alleged in one of the lawsuits to have said that everybody's eating. I got to get my crumbs on these contracts. Everybody's got a piece of these contracts except for me. And if any of you guys been paying attention to these contracts, some of these contracts are hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're not going through a bid. A bid process is how things go in New York City. A bunch of vendors will bid on a contract. Like you'll go to talks with the city itself. They'll vet you. You'll put your bid in, and it's done so that there can't be any bid rigging or kickbacks being involved. Right? It's like best man for the job kind of thing. Alleviates all that. So, but during COVID and now into the migrant crisis, everything's being done under the guise of it's an emergency. So we're giving out no bid contracts like what we've seen to DocGo. DocGo was a company that tested people for COVID-19. And next thing you know, they get a $400 million contract or something around that. Don't quote me on the number, but it was a few $100 million. They get a few $100 million to transport migrants. Who the hell would give just $300 million to a company that does COVID-19 testing? They supply COVID-19 tests. Why would you pick this company to give them a no bid contract to drive migrants around from back and forth to shelter? So I mean, and that this is what's being alleged. I'm not saying that particular contract, but that's what's being alleged in the news now, is that these contracts were being sold to vendors, these no bid contracts for kickbacks. So there's a lot of stuff going on, man, like a lot. And then forget it when we want to get into the campaign financing and the straw donors. I mean, we could sit here till tomorrow morning talking about all the allegations that are out there, you know.
Wouldn't mind hearing more of the accusations, but Brenda, I believe you have a question.
Yes. Hi, John. I'm Brenda. I had a question. Could you expand on how the police commissioner has more power, could have more power than the mayor? I'm interested to know that. Thank you. And I yield.
Sure. Well, obviously the mayor is the police commissioner's boss, and the mayor could remove the police commissioner, right? In New York City, the police commissioner is not an elected position. He's appointed by the mayor in New York City. But what I'm saying, at any given night, the police commissioner is in charge of probably 15,000 people that have firearms on New York City streets. That could, that's a very powerful position. Police officers have a lot of authority. So if he misused his authority, if he misused the people that he had 15,000 under him, and I mean, he could be a very scary man. He could be at that moment in time more powerful than the mayor, right? It's the same way, like we often say that a police officer on the street at times could have more power than the president of the United States. And what does that mean? It means this simply: I'm a police officer. I have a badge and a gun. I could actually justify taking your life in a moment's notice because my life feels threatened, or I deem you a danger to my life or my safety or the life and safety of another. So, it's just more of an inference. I'm not saying he actually does, but if you were corrupt, you could misuse that authority, and at that moment in time, you definitely have more power than the mayor of New York City. Obviously, thankfully, we've never encountered a situation like that. But God forbid we ever got some maniac as the police commissioner who wanted to start a coup. I mean, you have the force to do it. I think the NYPD was at one time the sixth largest army in the world. I don't know what we are now, but we're up there. They're up there.
Thank you for that, John. I'm going to be signing off soon, but just want to remind everyone, 9 p.m. The show's going to continue. I just have to head out, but 9 p.m. every Monday, Cafecito Break, myself, Cozy, plenty of the freedom fighters of New York. I ran for office several times. John, former police officer. A lot of great regular speakers that we have on the show. So make sure you follow us, and we send out reminders that we're when we're going on the air. We weren't on the air last week, but we're on the air normally Mondays from 9 p.m. to around 11:30 p.m. So also check out the show from the beginning if you missed the first hour. With that being said, thank you all for joining. I'm going to head out. I'll have a great rest of the show, everyone. Dion, you have your hand up, so I'm going to pass it to you.
Thank you. All right, so my point is this, that everything for me is political. Some people know Mark's running for office. I'm kind of running for office right now, actually. And I believe this actually stems from Eric Adams' critique of the Biden administration earlier this year. And they gave him a little pow-pow warning with the sex charge they pulled out of nowhere. And then he actually kept speaking out here and there. And slowly but surely throughout the months, you could see like the feds start digging and pulling certain strings, as I think certain warnings to him to get in line with this whole migration thing he was clearing about, and also the upcoming election. What's ironic is that the feds are moving in now in September on him, which I think is a bad look. But to my own point, just put out there with my statement, is that it makes New York more for the blue red. So that's why I'm kind of happy with it. Even though, you shouldn't wish these kind of bad things on your enemies, but still.
Could I respond to Dion? So
Yes, absolutely.
So Dion, I wholeheartedly disagree with that innuendo that the feds went after Eric Adams for going against the migrants. Eric Adams is the number one cheerleader for illegal immigration to come to any city in the country. He's sent more incentives for illegal immigrants than any other mayor across the country. That's why New York City is the touchdown for illegal immigration. That's why we've seen such a heavy rise in immigration. So the only thing that Eric Adams ever said was that New York City needed more money and he wanted more federal money. So he never got it. So he said, this is going to crush us. This is going to destroy New York City. But he was saying that because he was trying to put pressure on the federal government to give him financial grants. At the same time, he was saying that, and he still says till today, the border should remain open. The border should remain open as the official position of New York City, of the Adams administration. Till today, Eric Adams has the ability with his pen to write an executive order and allow the NYPD to once again work with ICE and deport anybody involved in criminal activity in New York City. And he refuses to do that. He refuses to do that. And I just don't see it. I don't see how. Listen, I'm not a fan of Democrats at all. But like, how bad are we in this country where we're saying, oh, you know what? They were just shaking down clubs and stealing hundreds of millions of dollars in contracts. But the only reason that anything's happening to him now is because he spoke out against the migrants. And if that's true, and I find that out to be true, I'm not kidding. I'm selling everything I own here and I'm moving out of this country because
Wow.
I'm not kidding, because then this is a completely systemically corrupt country if where you could have a mayor doing shakedowns of businesses with his police staff and then robbing taxpayer money blind of hundreds of millions of dollars. And the only reason the feds are going to go after him is because he said this is going to destroy New York City because he wanted federal funds and never said another thing true.
No, but I'm
If
saying that
that's
it
what it
made
is,
Biden look
I
bad.
don't want to live in this country.
No, I'm saying it made Biden look bad, and it wasn't the political climate at the time before the debate with Trump and spell stuff. It made the Democratic Party needs to look bad, so that's why they came up with his sex charge. That's the first thing they did, in my opinion. And then he proceeded to periodically mention his gripes with the Biden administration. The media played on it a little bit, and then some of these investigations went forward. But I agree with what you're saying. The sentiment that it is, if this is a political play of the Democratic Party against Eric Adams' behavior and making the whole party look bad and potentially making the evil Trump win, then you're right.
And the other thing with the sex charge on him, right, or the sexual allegation against him, I mean, he has nobody to thank but himself for it. He cheered that law up and down because they were using it to go after Donald Trump, and then it came around to bite him right in the ass. So like that whole thing, I was totally against that law, and I still say it today. Everybody's proven innocent until proven guilty. I'm not going to disclaim her statements, and I'm not gonna say that he's guilty of doing anything with her. But he cheered the law on to open that up. The New York, I forget what it was called. It's getting late for me, and I'm getting tired. But I forget whatever that law was called. But he cheered that on when they passed that to open up claims of sexual harassment that were past the statute of limitations, and they did it solely to go after Trump, and it came right back around and bite him in the ass. So that's another thing that I'm like, and that's just my whole point. When I just think that like we have to give some credit somewhere, and if like that's the only reason that the feds are going to jump on anything, then this country is systemically corrupt and we're gone. I don't even know how we're still standing.
I think Trump is going to come back and clean house. Brenda, to you.
Say what?
No, I said I think Trump is going to come back and clean house, but you had your hand raised, so I passed you the mic.
Oh, I thought my hand was down, but since you called on me, thank you. I wanted to say real quick that I'm hosting an event this Saturday, September 14th, from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. in East Harlem at My New York Bakery on 100th Street and Lexington. I put flyers in the post. Actually, Dion is going to be a guest speaker. We're also going to have a performance by Lavari, who was on Cafecito Break a couple of episodes ago. He's a Billboard recording artist. And the event is called In the 68th. I am the Republican district leader for District 68. And this is a community event, but people from all districts are welcome. It's my first event. I would love if you could come and support. It's also a fundraiser for My New York Bakery because they got hit hard during COVID. So, we're asking for 2-item minimum, but it's free admission, but 2-item minimum, but there are going to be $1 donuts. So if you're on a budget, you can welcome to come. And there's coffee, tea, and cocktails, that you can purchase at reasonable prices. And there's going to be an open mic. The event is from 5 to 8. We're going to open the mic at 6. I'm going to make a little speech. We're going to give everyone 3 minutes, whoever wants to speak. And also, I invited the Democratic district leader to co-host with me, because while I do have a responsibility and I'm committed to being the district leader for the Republican Party, my first loyalty is always to God, and I believe that God wants us all to get together. You could be a Republican, you could be a Democrat, but that doesn't mean we can't work together. And once someone's elected, they have to represent all of us. So all of us should always be united so that we can keep whoever does get elected, whether they're Republican, Democrat, Independent, keep them accountable to all the people. And thank you, and I yield. And again, the flyers are in the chat for this, and everyone's
Yeah.
invited, and you're invited also to come speak, for 3 minutes, or you could come sing a song, whatever you want to do.
And I
Thank you, and I
encourage
yield.
all of you to repost the announcements. Thank you, Brenda, for sharing. Um, if it's okay, I'd like to pivot back to the conversation we're having with John and invite Eric Dim, because I know that the gentlemen are very tired because they are covering this nonstop. So, for the sake of time, John, my question to you was, I know there's a lot of things going on, and I know that this is a conversation that I heard you speak about in terms of like, where are we now? What about sheriffs? And that's kind of my question to you. Like, um, is there, like, what is your insight when it comes to New York sheriffs and maybe their role, or could there be a role for them in the oncoming untangling of what we're seeing here in New York City? Or
So again, the sheriff role in New York City is not an elected position; it's actually an appointed position. And from where I'm looking, I honestly got to say that I feel, if I'm going to say, if we're sitting here and saying that the upper echelon of the NYPD appears to be systemically corrupt, I'm also going to say, as I'm looking at the enforcement of the legal marijuana shops, right? Because they legalized marijuana in New York City. So I'm really not aware of what illegal marijuana is at this point. I thought they didn't do a proper job of rolling that out and setting regulations. And, you know, so what I'm seeing now is in direct opposition to what Eric Adams said he was going to do with the bars and clubs. What we used to do as cops is we used to do something called the March program, and it was it was multi-agency response, Department of Health, State Liquor Authority, Police Department, Fire Department, and we'd go to problematic bars and clubs and restaurants, and we would go in and we would make sure they're up to snuff, and if they weren't, we would summons them, potentially even close down their business. Right? It wasn't something that we did heavy-handedly. It was something that we did in response to numerous community complaints. We didn't just arbitrarily go there and be like, you know what, I'm gonna go mess with Cozy's business today. It was after several complaints we would go there, do something like that, and issue violations, right? Get them up to snuff. Department of Buildings, everybody was involved. Eric Adams in December of 23 pulled that down, and he put in place what's called the Cure program. And Cure was, he made this nightlife mayor in this office of New York City nightlife. And what they were going to do is just educate the businesses, right? So they're just going to educate the businesses, and they're going to help the businesses grow and expand. And it's not going to be like March. And they basically created like something that could be considered a public safety void, and the ability for corruption to seep in, because really now nobody's looking at these establishments, right? So, and or you could arbitrarily look at them. There's no other agencies, really falls under the control of this office of nightlife, who has no authority, and the New York City Police Department. So New York City Police Department could operate without any eyes on them at that point. So they pulled down the March program, right? And now we have the sheriff. This week, they're touting that they closed 1,000 businesses in New York City. And what they do to close those businesses is, they're tax-paying businesses. There's people that work at these businesses. I was not a big fan of legal marijuana. I got to be honest with you. I don't like how they rolled it out. I think that there needed to be more regulation. And I think we need to make weed organic again and not GMO garbage. But, that's just my take on the marijuana. But what I'm seeing is being done by the New York City Sheriff's Office is, they're storming into businesses like stormtroopers, which is in direct opposition to what Eric Adams said that the path forward for New York City was going to be, is that we were going to work to help and grow businesses and give them time to correct anything that they were involved in. But that's not happening. What's happening with the sheriff's office is, they're going in, they're padlocking these businesses, Operation Padlock, and they're doing it arbitrarily. Because you'll have one guy that gets his business shut down for selling a product that they said, oh, it appears to be targeted to market towards kids, and the guy's like, well, the business across the street, they sell the same exact product, and you guys never went in there, and you're not shutting them down. And and again, there's a big appearance of impropriety around the New York City Sheriff's Office, because again, that's an appointed position. It's controlled by New York City Mayor Eric Adams. And it is being alleged that there are numerous members in this administration who they themselves or their children are involved in legal marijuana businesses. And like I said before, when I'm looking on the outside in, it appears to me that if a nickel bag gets sold on New York City streets, Eric Adams wants in. So I think that, when me and Eric were talking about sheriffs, we were talking about sheriff in the traditional sense of the form, where maybe it is a better model to alleviate and take some power away from the mayor and actually have an elected sheriff oversee the enforcement in New York City so that they can be held accountable to the people. And they're not basically just there acting on their own.
Thank you very much for answering that question. And thank you very much for sharing your time. I know that you guys have been really, really busy. Eric, welcome. I'd like to hear your insight.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. Cafecito, Cozy, I appreciate everything you guys been doing. Dion too, and I apologize, I haven't been present for weeks. I've been busy with some family stuff. But John and I really, we've had our finger on the pulse, and if you guys are listening and, you're up front to the podcast, we really appreciate it. So at this point, can you guys hear me good? Just want to know, because I've been traveling.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Thank you so much. So this is something John and I were talking about, because I had proposed this years ago, and of course it went on deaf ears. So if you look at the structure of the country in various states and cities, it's much different than New York. And I'd like to show you the comparison to LA, because LA is kind of like a sister city to New York, very similar when it comes to policing, similar types of crime, similar type of lifestyle, and similar type of politics, except Los Angeles County is a large county. It's a huge county, but it's made up of incorporated cities. So Los Angeles, the city itself, is a city in the confines of Los Angeles County. You have numerous cities. You have Los Angeles City, you have Compton, you have Burbank, and different cities. And so you have the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, which is at the hierarchy of that county, and they're elected, which is an elected official. So you have checks and balances from your local police departments. So if you see the dichotomy between that and the New York City Police Department, the New York City Police Department is the hierarchy in New York City. And what's different about New York, it's interesting, the politics are much different, right? Because it's 5 counties that actually make up the city. And so the mayor has complete control, and there's no checks and balances because the mayor appoints the police department commissioner and is actually the leader and the boss and the supervisor to the police department, if you actually look at small unit leadership breakdown. So I had proposed years ago, and I still stand by it. I believe that if each borough had its own police department and each borough had its own elected official as a sheriff, I think we would have much better balance and control, along with checks and balances with the mayor. And you can see the problem. It's problematic also in the city how each borough has its own district attorney, and each district attorney operates differently, and the way they view the justice system is different in each borough. If I commit a crime in the Bronx, there's going to be a different standard of justice in comparison to the district attorney in Staten Island. So if we had different elected officials, different sheriffs for each borough, and different police departments, that will alleviate that problem. And I think that's the way to move forward. It's something John and I have been talking about, and I really think that would be much better, and it would be a balance between the mayor itself. But unfortunately, the politics in New York are counties that make up a city. But I still we can move that way forward. And I'm curious if anybody's ever thought of that idea and ever looked at politics in that sense when it comes to New York. And with that, I want to say thank you to everybody. It's been a wild time. It's been a wild week. I never realized by giving your opinion, you pretty much need, figuratively speaking, body armor, because we've been getting shots fired, figuratively speaking, to John and myself. I mean, the amount of hate that we've received, it's actually laughable. It's shocking at the same token, but we just give our critical opinion. I think it's a fair assessment. And unlike most people that give a police perspective, we're not just saying, hey, back the blue, back this one. We're giving a fair assessment, and we're saying, hey, let's give a breakdown of this specific incident. What's going on with the police department? And I clearly just want to say one thing I learned in the Marine Corps, and this is dear to me, is leadership traits. And one of the traits that you learn is unselfishness. And you have to put the organization. I think that Ed Caban even that right now there's no allegations, but it's an investigation. And I think as a good leadership for the good order of the police department and also for the good order of the city, I do think that he should step down and put others before he puts himself. Because right now, the police officers, they have boots on the ground. This could potentially create a more dangerous situation than they are already in, as they're losing trust and credibility from the community. And unfortunately, it's the boots on the ground that pays for the leadership because they are the most tangible to the community. And I'll yield right then. And thank you so much for having me as always. Any questions? I'll be available.
I just have one clarifying question because you dropped out when you were saying who should step down, and I just want it to be just on the record so that we know that who you said. I know who you were talking about.
Sure, I'm a firm believer that unselfishness is a great leadership trait that we must have to be effective leaders. I think Police Commissioner Ed Cabed should step down to be unselfish, to put the organization, put for the good order of the police department and the good order of the public. Step down, let the investigation play out. This way, it's a more safe environment. Let things cool down, more safe for the police officers. And if he's free of all allegations, if allegations show such arise, then he could always come back. And that's my position, and I'll yield there.
May I ask a question?
Go ahead, of course.
Hi, Eric. I'm Brenda. I have two questions. The first is your sheriff idea for each county and each police department. I think that's a good idea. I've never heard that before. How would the people be able to do that? Would we go to our assemblyman and say we want to change the law for our county, or to our city council? And then my follow-up question would be, how do you think that the police departments would feel about it? Would they go along with that, or would they not want it? And I yield. Thank you.
I think that's a great question. So I think the police department itself would probably not want that idea because they get to allocate funds in the manner that they see fit. As in comparison, funds would be on the level for each borough. I think that would be much more effective because it could be tailored to each borough, because each borough has different needs based on the nomenclature, based on the demographics for each borough, and based on who's electing those officials for their particular borough. Do I think the police department would be in favor? No, but I think that if they actually were to hear out the different points of it, I think that they would find surprise. I think that the police officers themselves would find that they would have a better salary. I think it would be a better tax break. And I think it would definitely be better for the people itself, because the people would have the control to actually vote. Just as they would vote a district attorney, they could vote who's going to be the sheriff. And they have much more control of what they say, just as we do. It's interesting, we talk about nightclubs. The community board has the ability to interview who's getting a state liquor authority license. So the community board would be involved in this. Community would be completely involved in who's policing their community, right? You judge by a jury of peers. I think that's very important. As far as how it would be changed, I'm not exactly sure. I'm actually have to look into that. And that's something that, I was hoping that some friends I have in politics, and maybe you could help me find out, because I have to be honest, I don't know at this point. It is the idea that I have, but I at this point, I do not know how to go about it. So I'm hoping that maybe some people could tell me, and I'd love to lobby for that.
Thank you. That was a great question, Brenda. Thank you so much. This is why I love these spaces, because the idea is not only just to share our direct boots on the ground experiences, but from there, sometimes amazing ideas can get energized. So I really thank you, and thank everyone for your time. Just one thing that you said, Eric, that I guess I do worry about the with all of the propaganda to defund the police, and then we saw the Summer of Love 2020, and now we have over 200,000 plus migrants, a lot of them who are keep um, maxing out their time in the shelter system. Resources are being limited. We are moving into the winter season. In the park that I walked by, that I'm not going to walk there by myself, I saw, unfortunately, some of the young men just, creating little encampments. You're starting to see them spread out more under the bridges, now, and it's to me it's just really sad state of humanity. This virtual signaling that we saw, let's take care, we have enough, blah 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 blah. Something that I didn't know, and there's a question here that we're not just a sanctuary city, but New York is a sanctuary state. uh I I just don't see any end in sight, and it feels like, even though a lot of people on all sides of the aisle are complaining about all the things that are unmanageable in New York, it seems like when they have suggestions, they just kind of want more federal money. So this is why I do agree with you ultimately, John, that I don't think that Eric Adams was calling out because he was seeing the mess, as, oh, poor New Yorkers and taxpayers. It was like, oh, there's a mess here, it's falling on me, I gotta handle it, and I want more federal money. And there was no assessment, there's been no push, from what I understand, to say that this is unmanageable, that maybe we should have an open dialogue and start having a conversation, an intelligent, organic, without race baiting, without saying this United States is for everyone. There are countries, there's reasons why there are countries. Like, as much as I would love to say that in Russia, I don't think I could get away with a lot of what we're seeing here. And I just feel like all of this just leads us to no good, and just us arguing over crumbs, because that's ultimately too, like, I wonder when I hear myself arguing about what the migrants are getting and not getting, when all of these billions are traveling overseas, and we are, walking in infrastructure that's decaying, that needs updates. Like, this is a sad state of affairs. I mean, again, I said yesterday that, I mean, earlier, that I don't think the election is may even happen this year. I mean, there's a lot that would surprise me if it happened, because things are just so crazy. And I do feel that perhaps there's a lot of people who have gone really quiet. And I wonder if we're about to be in for a crazy big shock. John.
No, just to piggyback on what you're saying, like the poor management of it. I mean, just think about the easiest thing that there is, and it's like we have 200,000 people. We don't have place to shelter them. We can't feed them forever, right? And the easiest solution is, well, we have known gang members here. We have people that are acting, committing crimes, violent crimes on New York City streets, and Eric Adams is not even picking up the pen to just have them deported. I'm not talking about the mothers and the families that came here for a better life. I'm talking about the people that came here to prey on Americans and use our weak criminal justice system and our pro criminal laws against us. We can't even just get them out, right? There's not even that. Like, even that could alleviate some of the need for housing, some of the need for money to be spent, and it would really help the situation a lot to stop hearing about the migrant crime and all the patterns that are coming up and seeing it on video. I mean, I just saw that someone just admitted to just that a legal immigrant just admitted to killing a teenager in New York City to get down with MS-13. This is what we brought here. We brought third world crime here. And even just that, the littlest, simplest thing, that's not being done. And Eric Adams is lying blatantly to everyone's face. And we always sit here and I definitely lean conservative, and I definitely am right, like in my opinions. But as far as am I a Republican, I think I'm far from a Republican, because I see Republicans, the Republican Party, especially those in New York City, as complete utter cowards, because they're allowing New York City mayor to lie to everyone, even though they know the truth, that he could just pick up his pen tomorrow with an executive order and say, well, if you're committing any violent crimes, we're gonna have the NYPD cooperate with ICE, and you're gonna be deported. And
John, what is the justification that they're using, or say, like, what's the justification of them not deporting these people or not putting them in prison? Like, what's going on here?
he's saying that he's following the law. And what the law that he's referring to is an executive order that Bill de Blasio put in. So it's like Bill de Blasio wrote an executive order, I believe it was in 15. He wrote, I could be wrong about the year, I don't remember exact year, but he writes an executive order saying that the NYPD will no longer cooperate with ICE. Not only the NYPD, no New York City agencies, so New York City courts, nobody could cooperate with ICE. So and it's huge, because just think, if I lock somebody up and ICE has a detainer on them because they're a known gang member, or they're wanted in their own country for murder, anything of that nature. Now I lock them up. I didn't notify ICE. ICE does not know they're arrested. Now they go through our court system. ICE doesn't know they're in our court system. And the courts can't notify that, hey, this guy's got a detainer, an ICE detainer on him. We're not allowed to cooperate. We might be able to see that they have an ICE detainer, but we can't tell ICE that we have them. So, and that was done through an executive order through Bill de Blasio, and Eric Adams is hiding behind it the same way he hides behind right to shelter law. Right to shelter law, he interprets for the entire world, when the right to shelter law only applies to New York State residents. So it's like that's his game. His game is gaslighting you with the law. I'm just following the law. He wasn't just following the law when he basically violated the United States Constitution when he said, put this in your body if you want to work, or if you want to eat, or if you want to do any of these other things. He just overnight turned into Harvey Weinstein and enforced it for a year and a half past the pandemic, past when the entire world was open and New York City was still under lockdown. He didn't, and he's still violating the law as it opposed to like court order judges putting people back to work and all that. But that's what he's doing. He's gaslighting everyone, saying it's not me. I need city council. I need the city council to vote on this. And all he's doing is stalling, because every month we are basically feeding. We're feeding these hotel owners. We're feeding these contracts millions and millions of dollars. And look what's coming out now.
So
Look what's coming out
what
now.
needs
All
to
his
happen?
friends are eating.
What needs to happen in terms of, like, what can we do to stop this?
We have to identify the problems and call them out, like the same way, like when he brings up right to shelter law, and Leroy Press is sitting there, viral news, and he's sitting there telling everyone, yeah, no, bro, he's hiding behind the law, bro, that he's not hiding behind the law, bro, it's the law, bro. He's lying to you. Like, all these people are lying. Like, we have to call them out on it and be like, no, he's lying, this is what it is. And then tell our elected representatives, Vicky Palladino, Joanne Ariola, all of them, they claim to be on our side, but why are they ignoring? Why are they ignoring that? Why are they ignoring the fact they know that he's lying about it? Why aren't they calling him out on it? So
Is it because they're outnumbered, or do you think that they're just scared to say anything?
I think it's because they're scared to say anything, and I think no one wants. It's not friendly to be on the outs. They're completely outnumbered, and I believe they're a little afraid, and it's not in a friendly spot to be on the outs with everybody. I mean, it sucks. You guys all know, especially you guys know how it feels, right? Like we've been going through this for 2.5 years. Maybe
But,
longer at this
but
point
yeah,
now.
listen, I love how you laid it all out, man. You made it very clear, and I appreciate the breakdown, and I think many people would benefit from it. So hopefully we can get a clip of this and get it to people. You know what I mean? Because I think that would make a difference.
Absolutely. And I lost my point when I went on my like monologue before, but my compassion lies with the current NYPD that get to suffer the consequences on the street because there's poor leadership at the top. There's poor leadership with the mayor. There is a messaging of hatred and racist messaging from some of the politicians or many of them. It depends, right? I think that people need to be more cognizant of the word choices that they're always using. Of course, we are all learning here what that means, but I have said this before. I do not remember a time where I was in a group setting, in a community group setting with Democrats, and if the NYPD came up, a lot of times it was messaging that was unfavorable, to the point that you start being programmed and you forget that you're looking at a human being that's in a suit. And some people in a suits, in all kinds of suits, do terrible freaking things, and others are not. Because I also remember the neighborhood policeman who was very charismatic and very helpful with everyone, who was trusted, who walked old ladies across the street. And we have people in leadership that are looked upon like that in other places, but in New York City, in cities specifically, you have this disrespect. You have um protesters who are there sometimes taking out their gripes on the NYPD, who have nothing to do with whatever they're griping for in the first place. You know what I'm saying? So, and they're sort of like not able to pivot, and they're arresting people who keep getting out. You have people who know they're taking advantage of this justice system. I just don't see, like, for the first time in my life, I'm feeling like I got to get out of New York too. And Eric, I'd love to hear what your thoughts about that. Like, the NYPD that's there now, a lot of them are leaving. A lot of them don't want to be there. And I understand why. These are human beings. Some of them are our relatives.
Yeah, I say it all the time. The most important thing for an organization to thrive is the leadership. And the leadership is also responsible for an organization to crumble. Also, these are aspects and attributes I learned in the Marine Corps, which is why I hold the Marine Corps so dear. I was an honor graduate of Boston Candidate School, so I learned a lot about leadership. It's my passion to study leadership and to understand leadership. And especially when it comes to New York City Police Department, because policing, especially New York, an iconic city like New York, where all eyes from the entire world are on New York City, and especially most police departments model their style of policing based on the NYPD, particularly with CompStat. Most police cities throughout this country that embody CompStat modeled it from what they got from the NYPD. But again, policing, the boots on the ground, they are the most tangible form of government. Police, with their boots on the ground, I'll say it again, are the most tangible form of government. So when we see these protests that are overshadowed with rioters and agitators that are being funded and paid to be there to antagonize the police, it's because they are the most tangible form of government. And that's why I say it takes true leadership. And that's why I think that Ed Caban showed a lack of leadership, and especially under the behest of Mayor Eric Adams, was seeing a clear mishap and a mismark of leadership. Because true leadership would be unselfishness, and it would be for Ed Caban to step down. Even if he's free of all allegations, I believe he should make a public statement saying, I am innocent. There's an investigation. There's not an allegation at this point. I'm going to allow it to play out, but before the good of the department, for the safety of my officers, and to build trust with the community, and also for the public, for their safety, to continue a thriving city, I'm going to step down, and you will see when this plays out, I will be free and innocent of any potential charges, and I will be back to command as the commissioner. But with that being said, I'm hoping, I have to be honest, I'm hoping there is no corruption. John and I do this messaging not because we hate the police department, because we love it, because we want a better version. We want a version that we had, but we want something even better. And I believe this is the path forward, is real engagement. You talk about these community meetings. I saw these community meetings. I was a special operations lieutenant. And they're just what's on the surface, and they're not real conversations. We need to have real conversations, just like John and I do on the podcast. We're giving perspective of actual policing. And sometimes I spoke to a couple of people today, and we're talking about different things, and we agree to disagree. Even there's some people on here right now, Ron Wason, a former boss of myself. We agree to disagree constantly, and we have great conversations. They're gentlemen and professional conversations, and that's the beauty of it. And that's what we need to do to go forward. But we need real conversations. We need real leadership. And if there is no corruption that comes out of this, which I hope there is not, but unfortunately, this dark cloud, and I've had my suspicions for 2 years, I find that highly doubtful. And right now, the preponderance of evidence says there is. But even with that, I do believe this is the most inept, inadequate leadership we've seen in the police department. There's no pyramid. It's all over the place. We have John Shell, Kaz Daughtry, which is the chief of patrol, deputy commissioner operations, the deputy commissioner of public information. They're all speaking out at different times. There's no vision. We don't even know who the clear supervisor of the police department is right now. Who is our leader? Who do we actually go to for pure direction? It's all over the place. And I think we need a complete new structure of the police department. I think at this point, the federal government or some outsourced entity has to take over the police department. We have to restructure the pyramid. And right now, we need a cool down period. And I believe that the entire upper echelon of the police department, if there is some corruption, has been affected and is compromised. Because I find it hard to believe if this is going on of what we believe in comparison from the March program to Cure program, there had to be a level of communication from the police commissioner to these commanders. And again, I think that if that's the case, that the entire upper echelon of the police department would have been affected. And I'm hoping that doesn't happen. But at the same token, we need a better leadership breakdown. And I've made this recommendation years ago, and I hope that they take it. In the police department, there's no actual leadership training. You either have it, you read, you're self-read, or it's a byproduct, or something that you happen to be an outlier and born with leadership skills. And I recommended that there should be a 2 or 3 week course where police officers who get promoted to sergeant or lieutenant or any rank are outsourced to West Point or another type of military base to get actual leadership training. And there is a skill to leadership. For some, it's a born skill. But for most people, it's something that you learn, including myself, self-read through books. I went to officer candidate school in the Marine Corps. And leadership is the most important thing for an organization to thrive. And the fact that Ed Caban has not stepped down says it's very self-serving, which I've been saying for a long period of time, and really puts the police officers more at risk and breaks the bond between the police officers and community and further creates a divide. It's very divisive. And that's where we are at in New York City. And that's why I find it extremely troubling. And it pains me because I want to tell people I was retired NYPD. I want to tell them I was a retired lieutenant and be proud of it. But at this point, there's a shadow of doubt, and I can't have that pride.
Wow, that must hurt to hear yourself say that after dedicating so much time, energy, and effort, and putting your life on the line. I think that I admit too that in any of my criticisms or even just the programming around just hating the NYPD. Now, mind you, I'm not saying I'm co-signing. I hate the surveillance. I hate some of the shakedowns. But at the same time, like we have problems in society that we all need to solve together, and that means different mindsets, different types of experience on the table, not just people who look at a paper or worksheets or statistics and do not have practical, real world field experience. That goes for any category of work. Some people are learning that the hard way, that there is a way you communicate with people online on social media, but if you only live in communicating in that way and you don't really talk to people, like I find a lot of Democrats do in this city, they do not really talk to maybe certain people. They talk to the people that harass them all of the time at their office, and that's the missing piece in the conversation. I think a lot of what we're saying here is that we have a very imperfect system, but we have to find ways to penetrate it. So, I'm happy to when I hear things like the events like the Brenda's doing, because she's really walking and talking, walking her walk and talking her talk, living it, you putting it in practice and putting everything, all of her efforts and her belief and being authentic, and also creating an openness where, hey, I look at life this way. I'm open. I serve God first. I'm here to serve the community. And that means everyone. And being an example, because we need more of that. Um, as we start wrapping down, everyone on this call, please remind people where they can connect you with and any predictions for the Trump Harris debate. And let's see, I will start with Brenda.
I was eating potato chips. Sorry, 1 second. I don't know if the debate's going to happen. I feel 60-40, it won't happen if I was betting. And um, you can find me on here on Twitter, and that can connect you to find other things. You can just Google my name, DJ Brenda Black. And again, everyone's invited to the event this Saturday, September 14th from 5 to 8 p.m. in East Harlem on 100th Street in Lexington. And there's an open mic from 6 to 7. And the flyers are in the chat for this. Thank you so much. God bless everyone. I yield.
Thank you, Brenda. And I look forward to attending one of your events in the future. As I said in the beginning of this space, my sister and I, all of our time, our main time is going to supporting mom and join her health emergency right now. And believe me, we want to be there eating those donuts and mixing it up with all of you beautiful people. And we will make it to one of your events, but we will always be supportive. And please, if you post it on IG, send me a collab. I would love to help share it. Cozy.
Yeah, well, my prediction is that, yeah, it's kind of strange that they're allowing this debate to happen, so I'm kind of suspect about it. But who knows? I don't want to make a prediction because I really don't know, but I'm highly suspicious that they're allowing it to happen because Trump is going to demolish her. She will not be able to debate. So it's very strange. And you guys can find me on Instagram.com/Kozis Wellness, KOZIS Wellness. And yeah, keep up the fight, people. You're doing great work, and I appreciate everybody who's stepping up and doing their job.
Thank you. And thank you for being such an excellent co-host, Cozy. And also I want to give a mini shout out to Mark Fernwy, who's also been such an excellent co-host here and helping to share and support. Please share and support and connect with anyone that you feel called to on this space. Many of us have definitely could tell you lots of stories of all of the things that we've lived through, putting our mouths on the line to walk with integrity and the comfort of trying to toe the line in big dark days of injustice. And I think that, you know, when we have a week like the one we just had, it is good to see some of our friends vindicated, like the gentleman here on this call, John and Eric and Sal. And may that continue, you know. John McCary, your thoughts.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I really have no thoughts around the debate. I'm 100% voting Trump. There's nothing that Kamala Harris could really come back from at this point. She said she wants to confiscate guns. She's talking about shutting down misinformation on the internet. These are far left. I don't even want to say they're far left. They're communist ideology, the price controls. You know, I've read a lot about the 20th century, the horrors of the 20th century, and her plan is very reminiscent of Stalin's plan, and it failed miserably, and he killed hundreds of millions of people in Russia. And it's honestly that there is no choice for me, so I have no skin in the game when it comes to that debate. I don't even care if she had a great debate; it's not going to change my mind whatsoever. At this point, I'm voting Trump 2024. Make America great again. Make America healthy again. Now that RFK's on board, I really love the collab there. And yeah, just if you guys are up tomorrow morning, live at 8:05, we'll be doing a podcast. We're going to be delving into the corruption, the further corruption in New York City. And, you know, we're going to be up on YouTube at The Finest Unfiltered, Rumble at The Finest Unfiltered, X. You could follow me here. It'll be either here or at The Finest Cast on X, and or at Most Complaint Cop. And you know, we're gonna roll again. And you know, God bless everybody on here. And you know, it's always a pleasure connecting with all you guys.
Thank you so much, John. Appreciate you jumping on today. And Eric.
I'm not kidding. I'm not just saying this, but Cavacito, you know, I love your spaces. They're awesome. We get right to the point, down to it, and they're very poised, and I think that there's always some value. And when we have these spaces, and I learn a lot, and always great conversations. And I want to thank John, of course. He and I have really pounded the ground together. We face so much opposition. I've learned a lot through speaking out our opinions and speaking out what we believe is the truth. And we say what we believe is the truth is because it's our truth. It's our anecdotal experience. It's our perception of how politics has affected policing. It's our perspective based on our boots on the ground, our experience in the police department, our experience in life, my experience in combat, my experience in the military. And this all comes together. John and I, we're kind of like a yin and yang. John was the liaison for the Civilian Complaint Review Board to internal affairs of the police department. And I was actually the most complaint cop who had the most civilian complaints. So together, I mean, we've really, we've hit the ground running, and it's been an amazing adventure. I've lost numerous friends as we speak out, telling the truth. And I guess they weren't friends anyway. I've learned a lot about that. It's been a great road. And, I love this path. And, I thank Cozy. He's always a gentleman, and sending me stuff on Instagram, and I appreciate and keeping me informed. This is a great crew here. And if it wasn't for the situation that we're in, I believe in turning something bad into something good. I would have never met like-minded people like yourselves. And I love this opportunity of speaking to people and having them understand police work from our perspective, and building a bond about what policing is, and understanding, how civilian people look at it from a different perspective, and putting these together. And as far as Trump goes, there's, to me, he's the only horse in this race. I mean, I don't understand. It's shocking to me that we have to have an election, a poll from the Detectives Endowment Association of the New York City Police Department to determine who their members should endorse. I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer that it's Trump who's law and order. And with that being said, thank you so much. We'll keep pushing forward. If you get a chance to watch our lives, it's 8:05 Eastern time, but for me, it's 5:05. I'm on the West Coast. So just to show you how important it is, I'm bright and early. I'm up before the sun comes up, and we'll keep pushing, and we'll keep doing it. Thank you so much.
Awesome. I love it. And I'm just going to, do a little ego gloating. A couple of weeks ago, I was saying that I just kept, remember when Trump chose his VP? And I was like, I don't know, man. I just feel like RFK is going to be in it. And I feel like there's going to be a unity thing. And then Mark, for a while, put me on the spot. I'm sorry, Rose Angel. He's already chosen his VP. And even Teachers for Choice, Michael Caine was like, Rose Angel, I don't think RFK would ever work with Trump. And he gave me his reasons. And you know what? I took it. I also put it, and I said I would still bet. And I am going to still say I will put my chip on the table to say that the story with RFK and Trump is not over. It's still unfolding. I'm not saying, and I never saw him as a VP. I always said Trump, Kennedy, unity ticket. And isn't it eerie that we've been seeing that word unity a lot as Tulsi has come in, and all of a sudden they're also equating it to superhero teams. It's just, we're just living interesting times. So I'm excited. I guess that's me geeking out for politics. For tomorrow, I'm going to be excitedly watching, hoping that it does manifest. And that's where I'll wrap things up. The replay will happen mañana on IG. New York Stands Together. People love when we share the replays. It helps them be connected and feel more connected to New York and New York Insights. So thank you everyone for your time here. God bless you. Much success to you, and health to all of your loved ones and your families, and of course yourselves. And thank you again for being people of integrity. God bless you all.
We want to hand it back
Good night,
over
everyone.
to Maria
Peace out.
Raza de
Quiero cuarentena, el cuerpo lo sabe y la calle está llena.
Se acabó la cuarentena, el cuerpo lo pide, la calle está llena.
Por eso mi cuerpo pide calle.
Hasta mañana,
Calle,
hasta mañana,
calle,
hasta mañana,
calle, calle, calle,
hasta mañana,
calle,
hasta mañana,
calle,
hasta mañana.
calle, 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 calle. Hasta mañana calle, 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 calle. Hasta mañana calle. El cuerpo lo pide porque duré mucho trancado en mi casa. Hoy ya te empeño pa' comprar